The Writer's Dossier Podcast is a proud member of the Authors on the Air Global Radio Network.
This is Tony Wirt, and this is my Writer's Dossier.
No writers were harmed in the production of this podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Writer's Dossier Podcast. We have got some fun for you tonight with my pal, our lovely co-host, Mindy Carlson, is here tonight. Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm fantastic. It's always good to see you. I love it when you join as a co-host because you bring so much fun, and it's even more so tonight because we are bringing our mutual friend into the program, Tony Wirt, everybody. Thanks for joining us, Tony.
Good to see you guys.
Good to see you too. You are a riot because, so we were together in February at the Left Coast Crime in Denver, and that was just... The conference was great. It was great to see you and Mindy. It's great to see everyone interact and get together because this is a writer's family. And anyone out there who's never gone to a conference, try to go. If you're a writer, if you're a fan, doesn't matter. BoucherCon is really fan friendly. But anyways, we're at this conference. So Tony and I are at this super cool bar. It's like this almost a dive place. And Mindy's there. And it was the place where supposedly Jack Kerouac got hammered a few times. So everyone, if you're in Denver, go to this place. I don't remember the name. But Tony and I kind of wandered around to the back of the bar. And we just stumbled on this old pinball machine. And we just started talking about it. And I love pinball, always have. I'm a child of the 80s. I think we all are. And Tony just started going off on pinball. So I want to start the show with that. So there are two things. One, you're a pinball fan and you can go double deep on pinball history and technical specs. But there's another part of the story too that's very personal to you. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your pinball situation, Mr. Wirt?
Well, it's like I said, I grew up playing pinball. Aside from like random arcades and stuff, like I said, I was a child of the 80s too. But the big one was my family had a cabin up in. So actually, it's the place that I based the cabin in Pike Island on. At the lodge where we would go to get minnows, you could get like soda or stuff like that. But they had a couple machines there, and they had an old pinbot, which I don't know. Pinball people are probably familiar with it. It's a fairly famous machine through the 80s. It was kind of everywhere. Great deck, everything. It was a lot of fun. And I played so many games to the point where I actually, I believe I put that machine in Pike Island as well. I had a little scene where the guys went to the lodge and two of them broke off. So when they were like, where they going? Like, they were off playing pinball because there you go. And as a kid, I'd always wanted to have my own machine, that kind of stuff. And then when my first book, A Necessary Act, came out, I had kind of said like, okay, if this does well enough, I was like looking at my royalties and stuff. And I was like, if I get enough where I can get a machine, I'm doing it. So I remember the day I was so excited. I realized there was a place up in Minneapolis, or actually in Fridley, it's a suburb north of Minneapolis, called the Pinball Warehouse. It's now closed. But it's a literal warehouse. I drove past it twice looking for it because you cannot, like, there's no signage, anything. But it was this dude who would buy pinball machines, fix them up and sell them. And when I went in, it was a giant warehouse just full of pinball machines. Every one you could kind of think of, all the ones you remembered. And they were
awesome.
They are all on, and they're all playable to test out. I could have been there forever. I went and I played a ton of them. I had a few ideas of machines I wanted to get, and I found some of them. It basically came down to there was a pinbot machine there, and I thought very strongly about getting that. But there was also a Simpsons pinball party, which was the one I had my eye on for a while.
Nice.
And it was there. It was in great shape. I knew the minute I saw it, I was like, yeah, that's the one I'm going to buy. I still played all the rest of them just to have fun. It's a great machine. It's still in my basement. We had my oldest daughter, she graduated last weekend. So we had a grad party on Sunday, and I went down there. She had all her friends down in the basement at the party, and they were all lined up playing pinball and stuff. So It's kind of fun.
That is so
That's
cool.
awesome.
Mindy, do you play pinball at all?
Yeah, at the bowling alley we had pinball and video
Yeah.
games and stuff. And yeah, you get a couple quarters from mom's purse, and it pretty much kept you occupied until the food arrived.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Well, that's really cool how you integrated some of that into Pike Island too. So that was pretty clever.
Well, that's the thing is I'm not that clever. I just have to mine things that I remember. I don't make things up well.
Tony Wirt, not that clever.
There's our clip.
Tagline right there.
Hey Tony, as a one self-published author with the book you mentioned, Necessary Act, you worked your ass off until you got a traditional deal with Just Stay Away. Vanna, do you have Just Stay Away? There you go. There you go.
Yes,
There's
I do.
Just Stay Away. People are watching on YouTube. You can see Mindy Carlson, author of Her Dying Day, by the way, holding up Just Stay Away by Tony Wirt, my gateway into Tony Wirt when we met at BoucherCon a few years ago. And now Silent Creek drops October 7th. So how have you progressed between that first book and what you're writing now?
Well, like you said, I started off, I'd always wanted to be an author. It was just something, but it was also, as you guys know, it's not a very linear career path. It's also not a very stable career path. So it was not something I looked into doing for a long time. So basically, once I got married, my wife's a surgeon. I used to be in athletics communications. And while you do get a lot of cool swag, it doesn't pay real well. Surgery pays a lot better. When we were moving around a little bit, I decided to stay home with our kids. And during that time, I thought I would kick around a book idea I had. And I didn't have a clue how the business worked. I just sat down and started writing. Like enough that honestly, like my first draft didn't even have paragraphs. It was just one giant document.
What are you doing?
I told you, I didn't know. I had no clue. And I read all the time. You would think the part of you would be like, hey, remember how every book you've ever read has paragraphs? You should put those in.
Tony Wirt, not very clever, doesn't use paragraphs.
No, I do now, though. I've learned. So I wrote that. I was also very lucky. I have a good friend from college who is an editor at Source Books. So once I had kind of something, she kind of helped me out of, like, this is how you send a query letter. Here are some agents that may like your stuff, kind of a thing. So I queried like crazy. I got a lot of really good in terms of like asking for fulls and things. They all said no. Just that's just how it is. So self-publishing that, which also taught me a whole other side of the business about, hiring editors, hiring cover designers, doing promo, all that kind of stuff. That was a very, very valuable experience. So I did that. Necessary Act sold well for an indie book. I was happy with it. It was enough to buy a pinball machine. That was a win, right? So then I wrote another book. I debated whether I was like, I could just go the indie route again. That went well last time. I know how to do it now, so it would at least go a little smoother. But it's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to kind of go the traditional route. So I queried again, ended up sending out another, 100 or so, and it was probably my agent, who's also Mindy's agent. She's the best. That was probably like my 70th query or so on that book. So it wasn't a easy ride that time either. But we ended up signed. But the book she signed me on was actually Pike Island. We put that on sub, and it died on sub. So again, not a very linear path. After that died, we'll just write something else. So I wrote wrote Just Stay Away. We sent that on sub. It was on sub for a good months probably. So it was a while. I was very concerned that was also going to die its death. But then we got picked up by Thomas and Mercer. We published that. Things went well. They asked, what else do we have? And we gave them Pike Island, and they're like, oh, this looks great too. So that book became my second book on a contract with them, which, it just shows you how weird this business is, how timing it is, luck, all that stuff.
Well, and it's sort of interesting too, because with your first book you did and you went on indie with it. And I think a lot of authors have that same sort of story where they have a book and they queried it and didn't get picked up. And then it's kind of like, well, do I go indie with it or do I keep it in my back pocket for a situation like you had at Thomas and Mercer where like, yeah, this one didn't sell, but I got it. And if they want a 2-book deal, I can propose it. So, it's less work in the future, but it's also like, but that's not a guarantee either. What was it about Necessary Act that made you think, well, I'm going to indie publish it? And then what was it about Just Stay Away? Like, why hold Pike Island in your back pocket?
So I was originally going to hold back a Necessary Act. I had a conversation with an agent that didn't sign me, but she was nice enough to offer me some advice and stuff. And she recommended holding that back, writing something else. And she's like, that can be your second book on a contract. I basically was like, I think it's good enough to be that. And that's what I was going to do. But kind of as you said, Mindy, it's there's no guarantee that opportunity is ever going to come. And honestly, what it came down to is I'd worked so hard on it. I wanted to see something. I wanted to see a result of that work.
Yeah.
I didn't want to, and I would have, been another couple of years of nothing. And I'd been at it for quite a while and I wanted to see some results. So I decided, yeah, I'll indie publish it and we'll see. And then as to why we held back Pike Island after it died on sub was mostly because at that point I'd already gotten an agent. Mm-hmm. And she also was like, she's like, I absolutely think this book is good enough to be published. She's like, this will be your second book. Just write another one. She's like, I fully trust in your abilities or whatever, and write another book. We will sell it. This one will be right there. We will sell that one and we'll be rolling. And that's what happens. She was right.
Oh, she's always so right.
Yes,
she's always right. Well, we're gonna have to get
right.
her to listen to the podcast so she can hear you guys talk like this.
She's a fantastic agent. She listens to all of our podcasts. She reads all of our newsletters. She is just interested in what we have to do.
That'd be solid,
or at least fakes it well.
Or she fakes it.
I'm not going to say she's interested in all the texts I send her, but she does respond.
She responds to everything.
Delete. Hey, Tony, well, speaking of texting and communicating to people, it's been said, and most recently by Rob Hart this week, about engaging in social media and how that affects sales. And just coincidentally, you guys, both of you, and all three of you are very active. You go to conferences, you're active on social media, you engage with your readers. What has the value of that been for you, especially because you sit around and you wait like you did, and you want something to happen like you wanted, and then it finally happens? That's when it really starts. But how does that translate into sales? Because the Necessary Act did well, and well, you didn't even know how to use paragraph markers, Right. So how does that work? How did that work out for you?
I don't know how. It's hard to say how much it helps in terms of sales. I mean, obviously, if you go to a conference and you meet a reader and they're like, I'm going to go buy your book. Well, okay, that's a sale right there. And that's certainly something. But in the grand scheme of things, who knows how much that actually moves the needle. Now, if they like it and they tell their book club or their other friends, sure, that's always great. But that's a hard thing, I feel like, to quantify. What I use that stuff for, both social media, conferences, stuff like that, is I feel like it's better in terms of just meeting other authors. Well, like Jeff, I met you at VoucherCon.
And I bought your book right then. Yeah.
Because I met you, I'm doing this now. Yeah. I met KT Wynn at my first Thriller Fest. Because of that, she's blurbing my Silent Creek at the moment. So I have I've met enough people now that if I need a blurb, if I need advice on something, just, anything like that, I've got a whole lot of author friends on various levels of success, or parts of their career, I should say, that I can talk to. And I think that's the most valuable in terms of making a career out of this. It's actual sales you get, the direct sales you get from doing this, or, meeting these people, which is a thing. And I don't want to discount that. But I feel it's more the connections you make to build up your career as a whole, and the sales will kind of come from that, hopefully.
I love it. I know you guys text back and forth about coffee because you both go to coffee shops. And it's
true.
It's nice to have
beer.
That person. Yes. And what? Beer. Yeah, Cody, you make your own beer, right?
I used to. I don't anymore, mostly because the beer scene in Minnesota has gotten so good that it's just much easier to go buy some really, really good stuff instead of make my own mediocre stuff.
But
I never got to the point where
we have to wait.
Well, I never got to the point in beer making where I took the step to like full mash type things. I was still using like extracts and things. Like, I kind of liken it to, I was making beer like making cake out of a box, which, I mean, fine, but there's a bakery down the way that makes the most elaborate whatevers. It's like, well, I can have my German chocolate cake from Duncan Hines, or I can go get one of those for $5 and I don't have to make it, and it's twice as good. So
yeah, I love it. Hey, can we talk about the developmental editor work that you've engaged with?
Sure.
Tell everybody about how that came into your writing world, because you and I were in Chicago a few years ago with Claire Eisenthal, and we were having lunch, the three of us, and you mentioned who you had. And tell us a little bit about that, what it's like working with Gabino, and how that's really taken you from A Necessary Act now to Silent Creek coming up in August 7th.
So after we sold Just Stay Away to Thomas and Mercer, we kind of had our first phone call with them, which it was my agent and I, my editor, Liz Pearson's, and we just, I didn't know what was going on. So it was kind of the very basic, like, this is how things are going to go. This is what we're going to want from you. This is all the things. And they were just going over deadlines and how we're going to do things and how they do things. And it was interesting. I was just still, at that point, I was still just riding the high of, I sold a book. Holy crap.
I got a pinball machine. Woo!
Yeah. And I'm just trying to, I'm on my best behavior. I'm just speaking when spoken to. It's a lot of yes, ma'am.
That didn't last long.
The one time.
Yeah, the one time. But I mean, like, at that point, they could have been like, we would like to see a full rewrite by tomorrow. I'd be like, yes, I can do that. Yep, no problem. But I'm just like trying to let my agent do the talking and all that stuff. But one of the things they said was, well, we're going to get you, we're going to have you work with a developmental editor like we always do. But we're going to hire someone from outside. And I said, okay, fine. I don't know. Like, apparently sometimes they do that with Thomas Mercer, sometimes they don't. I don't know when they do or when they don't, but they said they were going to do it with me. I said, great. And they go, I think he's going to be a really good fit for you, because this is kind of a borderline horror adjacent book. And he's got some experience in horror, and he's also a dad, so he can relate to. And I was like, okay, let's think. And they go, his name is Gabino Iglesias. And I go, are you kidding me? Holy shit. And like, I remember I was in this office, and I just remember being like, and then Liz just kind of laughed, and she goes, oh, have you heard of him? I'm like, yeah, I'm reading Devil Takes You Home right now. And I was just like, I couldn't believe it. Like, I'm getting to work with one of my favorite authors, like a rock star like that. Yeah. And like, part of me was like, afterwards, I was joking around. I was like, do you think they got Gabino because they're like, oh my God, this guy
needs so much help.
Oh, we got to bring in the big guns here. Hire someone that really knows what they're doing, because, but, hopefully that means that they saw something in me and were willing to invest in a good editor.
But Tony, if they didn't see anything in the book, if it wasn't good, they never would have bought it to begin with.
I know,
so,
but you know what a writer's mind looks like. We all think we're like this, like we're 2 seconds away from a phone call that says, did we publish 3 of your books? That was a mistake. We're going to pull them off from the market and never, you need to go back and work in a coffee shop.
Imposter syndrome.
Bag of neurotic caffeinated cats is what
exactly.
That is the mind of a writer.
Exactly. So, but yeah, it was great working with him. And the guy's, that guy taught me how to write a book. I'll tell you that.
I mean, he is a genius.
He is. He's phenomenal. And
his work is amazing.
So then when we went with Pike Island, that was the one thing I told my agent. I said, I want to work with Gabino again. Like, can you put that in the contract, or can that be like my diva demand that, we work together again? I don't think that was like anything we negotiated. They were like, yeah, you can work with him again. I was like, oh, great, I'm in. And then same with Silent Creek. I was like, again, that's my one ask. I was like, if possible, I would like to work with Gabino again. And we've been lucky enough to do that every time. So that guy I've learned more from him than anybody. It's awesome to have a writer of that caliber read your stuff and then give you notes on it. It's just, invaluable.
What
Mindy's
is one
demands?
Thing that my demands are all about green M&Ms. But but what is one thing that he taught you through his editing work with you that you think should be universally known by other writers?
That's interesting, because I feel like most of the stuff I got from him was specific to me.
Okay.
But I remember, like, during Silent Creek, he mentioned my writing style. And he's like, oh, I love the way you phrase this. It's like, that's just so your style and stuff. And I was like,
I have a style?
Really? And then like I thought about the way I kind of phrased my prose and stuff, and I was like, I think I have a style. That's cool, right?
You're like Rudolph.
Well,
She thinks
you
I'm
hear
cute.
people talk about finding your voice, and again, like I never considered the fact that I could have a voice, but apparently I do. So I've been noticing it more and leaning into it a little bit in the stuff I've done since, and I don't know, it seems to be working.
It is working, and folks definitely need to just grab Silent Creek now. You can pre-order it, even go back before it arrives between now and August 7th. Go ahead and just stay away. It's a riot. And then Pike Island, you're gonna love. Mindy's holding them up right now, so you can see the beautiful covers. I mean, great work on that, and it is working. Like I said, I loaned out Just Stay Away to someone over Christmas last year when they were at the house, and they just returned it at the Kentucky Derby party we had. Shout out to Tammy Mars, and she handed it back to me. She got, I love this. And so I told her husband, my buddy Seth from high school, I said, get on Amazon right now and order Pike Island. So it is working, man. I'll tell you what, where can people find you? Obviously, your website, TonyWirt.com. We talked about social media earlier. You're active. Where's the best social media platform people can find you and interact with you at?
Probably my Instagram, which is @Wirter, WIRTER. I'm on Blue Sky as well. I have a Facebook page. I check once a week to see like what my great aunt sent me, and try not to ignore that. But that's kind of the main spot. I'm probably most active on Instagram and Blue Sky.
So, folks, look up Tony Wirt at TonyWirt.com. Check out his dossier, his unredacted, unclassified dossier at thewritersdossier.com, and go to Instagram and follow Wirter. And do the same with Mindy Carlson, author of Her Dying Day. Check out her website, mindycarlson.com. All this is in the show notes. There you go. And Mindy's very active on social media as well. We interact all the time. So that's it. Tony, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Thanks for working through the technical issues. And as always, this podcast wouldn't be what it is. This episode would not be as sparkling without our co-host, Mindy Carlson. So thank you for joining us tonight.
Yep. Never miss an opportunity to torment Tony Wirt.
No, I can't wait to see you guys. Can't wait
I can
to see
show you my
text.
text. It's true.
Ignore the text. Delete. Everybody, thanks for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. All right. The Dossier Podcast is a production of The Idea Academy.